was one of the most respected Irish guitarists. He wrote timeless songs and was a dynamic performer. Many of the great names in music were keen to use his talents and his signature style. He was unique.
I remember Paris, 49, short to music, Saint Michel and old Beaujolais wine. I recall that you were mine in those Parisian days.
He was born in 1952 in East Belfast. His father was involved in the music business, and at a very young age, Gary became fascinated with that world.
When I was 10, my dad came home from work one day on a Friday and he said, "Would you like to learn to play the guitar?" And my attitude at that point was, well, I've tried everything else and I'm rubbish at it, so yeah, I would love to play the guitar, because all I ever thought about was guitars, to be honest. I just fell in love with it straight away, and if you fall in love with something straight away, it's not like a big chore. It was never a chore to me in that way. It was just something I felt at home with straight away. I worked out very quickly that you've got a neck on a guitar, and if you go that way, the notes get higher. If you go that way, it gets low. And once you kind of know that, you're halfway there, you know. To me, it was just this amazing world that I was able to become part of, and there was no turning back. I mean, that was it for me. I just had no interest in anything.
Gary formed his own band, the Beat Boys, just as the rhythm and blues era was at its most popular. This scene was centred around the Maritime Club in Belfast, which was later rebranded as Club Rado. It was here that he became friends with another blues champion, Rory Gallagher.
I was only about 13, 14 when I met Rory, and he was obviously a few years older, and he'd just come up from Cork at the time, and everyone was talking about him, quite rightly so. And he was such a great guy to meet, and he was very kind to me, because I was a bit of a kid, and he kind of like thought I was a good player or whatever, I'm not sure, but he just really was very kind to me. And we used to leave our guitars up there for each other because we didn't have any spare strings. We couldn't afford any strings, so we used to, if one of us broke a string, the other would lend him his guitar. He'd leave that Strat up there for me, and I'd leave my Telecaster up there for him. And we'd wire our Voxes together to try and get them a bit more loud, so so people could hear us at the back of the hall and stuff. It's a good time.
As a teenager, Gary was already an in-demand guitarist. When he played in Dublin, the local musicians and industry guys were astounded. He was noticed by the band Skid Row, whose singer was Phil Lynott. The band leader was Bruce Shields, who recognised early on that he would be a huge asset.
I saw this young guy, he was sounding brilliant. I remember him standing on the stage. Most of the night he played was back to the audience or sideways, and he seemed to be always pushing his hair, like he was very shy. But anyway, he blew me away, and I went back over to where Skid Row were, to continue working. And I remember telling Brush and Philip, I said, there's a kid over there that's incredible.
And so Bruce Shields was encouraged to watch this amazing talent.
I just couldn't believe it. He was playing off the Blues Breakers. He was playing an early Clapton thing. He was playing it. He had the sound. He looked terrific and everything. So I waited, stopped and said, "Will you come up and have a look or a sweep look for a guitar player?" Very shouty. Our guy's leaving.
We're on a break at the Club of Go-Go in Dublin, and this guy, Bruce Shields, came into the dressing room, and he told me he was in a band called Skid Row, and they were looking for a guitarist. And I said, "Well, do you play blues?" He said, "No, we only play like West Coast American music and our own stuff. But come and have a look at us anyway." And I said, "No, I'm not interested," because I didn't play blues. I was just so into the blues. I was a real little blues snob, actually. I didn't want to know.
We all got together then later on, and I said, "Well, what do you think?" He said, "I'd love to come in." He said, "I only wanted to play the blues, but obviously you're doing something else again." I said, "Yeah."
Now there was someone else to convince. Given that Gary was only 16, Brush realised that he would have to seek his father's permission to take the boy on the road.
So we left it for a couple of days, then I got to touch him on the phone. He said, my father wants to talk to you. Will you come up and see me? I said, where? He said, Belfast. I said, okay. Where do you live? He said, well, meet us at the gates of Stormont. He said, don't live too far from there. So I got up there, and there he was, waiting at the gates with his pal. His father wasn't there, and he brought me around to his house. I said hello to his father, Robert. He was 36 at the time. He says to me, he wants to go down and play with us. Will you look after him for me? I said, yeah. So, yeah, well, what else can I say, you know? I couldn't look after myself at the time. Never mind, Gary, but give it a shot.
Gary Moore and Phil Lynott bonded like brothers. There was rivalry and intensity, but also an enduring friendship.
Everybody knows this evening somehow we'll believe forever.
He used to come up to Belfast with me a lot at weekends and sleep on the couch in my mum's house, and he used to hate it sometimes because my dad would come in drunk at night really late, and my dad used to always keep my mum up. And I know he'll deny this, but trust me, Dad, it really happened. And he'd say to me, don't leave me with your dad, right? Don't, your fucking dad's gonna come in and drive me fucking mad. Don't leave me with your dad. And of course, as my dad would come home, I'd go straight up to my old bedroom and get some kip, you know, and leave him down there. And I could hear my dad droning on at him for hours, and he'd kill me in the morning. It's so funny. I mean, even the girl next door even fell in love with him and everything. You know, she'd just see him coming up, and she'd all get dressed up when she knew Phil was around. It's really, really funny. But he loved going to Belfast. And we used to go and see like Jim Armstrong down the Pound and places like that. And we'd get up and jam with him, play some blues and stuff. Yeah, he loved it there.
Phil would soon depart from the band and go on to form Thin Lizzy, while Gary would continue with the three-piece Skid Row. A meeting with Fleetwood Mac's guitarist Peter Green led to an exciting development.
He was waiting at the back as I came off, and he said, oh, I really like your playing, man. And I was like, what? I was in shock. And he was standing there and he kind of looked amazed, and he had that beard and he looked very sort of biblical at the time, and he was going through all that sort of thing. And he said, what are you doing later? I said, well, we've got to go and do another gig. I missed the band. I had to miss their gig, and we had to go and play another gig somewhere. He said, we'll come back to the hotel. And he was staying at the Skyline Hotel, which is on the way out to the airport. And so I met him up with him there. I met up with him after we played our gig and just sat up all night with him, hanging out and playing guitar and talking, and got really sort of friendly and everything. And I travelled with him in the car to Cork the next day to do another gig with him. And next thing, he persuaded his manager, Clifford Davis, to kind of sign us up and get us over to England. So he gave the band their first big break, really.
The band had a record deal and were looked after by Fleetwood Mac's manager. But life on the road was still pretty basic.
We had this old box transit van that we'd gotten off Fleetwood Mac. There was only room for 3 people in the cab, and then there was a box thing at the back. So 3 of myself, Paul Scully, another roadie, and Gary, we used to sit in the back. So we just travelled around, and we went on a tour of Sweden and Denmark. It was our first real foreign tour. We parked outside people's houses, and I would just zip up our sleeping bags and sleep there overnight, and then wake up in the morning and drive into town and try and get some kind of breakfast.
After 2 albums and touring adventures in America, Skid Row's ambitions were never fully realised.
Once we got the three-piece together, I thought we were easily as good as the Cream. We'd easily give Jimi Hendrix a run for his money. I honestly believed all that. And the boys believed it, I believed it. And when we went for it, that's how it looked. Next thing I know, we were in the Fillmore West playing with Frank Zappa. We were in the Whiskey a Go-Go in Los Angeles. A couple of the Led Zeppelin were getting up with the band. We were touring with the Allman Brothers. We had blown Iggy the Stooges off in the East Town Theatre in Detroit. We couldn't fail. Then he left the band, we couldn't replace him.